Hey there, happy Friday. Welcome to Carolina News Now. I'm Maddie Gardner coming to you from Charlotte, but we are a show powered by 6 stations across North and South Carolina. And we know that there was a lot of news this week, so that's why we are here every Friday at 1 o'clock. We catch you up with the top stories. And this week, we are focusing on something that affects everyone, inflation. Inflation has reached a point where it hasn't been in 30 years. We know you are probably experiencing a bit of sticker shock, so we're going to take a deeper dive into that, showing you stories from across the Carolinas about how this is affecting you and your neighbors. But first, we want to get a check of the weather. For that, we have meteorologist Andrew Dockery.
I'm WMBF First Alert meteorologist Andrew Dockery. Our Friday morning started off on a chilly one with temperatures in the 50s along the beaches here in the Carolinas. Notice the further inland you went, especially up into the western mountains there of the Carolinas. We continue to look at 26 in Boone. A chilly start behind the cold front. Of course, the closer you get to the coast this afternoon, the warmer you'll be. We're going to be sitting into the upper 50s. Notice the further inland, it's those mid 50s coming into play. Today in the Carolinas, notice 49 in Winston-Salem, 57 in Florence, Charlotte, 54 for the high temperature for you, and we'll be at 55 degrees as we go into your Friday. Winds out of the north behind the cold front and our friend high pressure providing once again partly cloudy skies. By Sunday, few fair weather clouds begin to roll in ahead of the cold front that will bring in our rain chance coming in at 20%. Now that next system brings in rain for Monday, also brings in cooler temperatures just in time as we go into next week. Of course, for the weekend here in Myrtle Beach, 61 on Saturday, 68 for your Sunday. The weekend in the Carolinas, 60s continue, the 50s further up to the north. Winston-Salem, 52 on Saturday, 56 for Sunday. Notice Charlotte, you'll be at 62 as we go into your Sunday forecast. Then giving you the first alert to a powerful cold front comes through Monday with the rain chances. It also drops our temperatures across the Carolinas. We're talking near freezing temperatures on the beaches here in the Carolinas, even colder freezing weather as you go up into North Carolina. Here's how we shape up if you're heading out to the beaches this weekend. 61 on Saturday, 66 for your Monday. And then notice we go into next week, finally warming up into the 60s for many of us for Thanksgiving here in the Carolinas.
Andrew, thank you so much. You heard him mention Thanksgiving in the Carolinas. If you're traveling for Thanksgiving, let us know in the Facebook comment section. We see a few of you logging on this afternoon. Fewer people, though, are driving for Thanksgiving this year. That's according to Gas Buddy. They say gas prices are so high that more people are going to keep their cars in the driveway. I actually spoke to Patrick DeHaan from Gas Buddy. They did a survey and asked people about Thanksgiving travel, and here's what they found out.
The holidays are here, the economy's reopened, but as a result of high gas prices, only 32% of respondents to our survey said they're going to be hitting the road and traveling for Thanksgiving this year. Surprisingly, that's down from 35% last year, and nearly 2/3 or 65% of respondents who are going to plan to hit the road back in 2019. So a lot of that probably baked in why they're traveling less. Well, gas prices amongst the highest they've been on Thanksgiving.
Amongst the highest they've been on Thanksgiving, and that's keeping people at home. And considering that fewer people are traveling this year than last year when we were in the height of COVID-19 last year, it's pretty wild to think about. Now, DeHaan says the national average of a gallon of gas is going to drop to $3.35 by Thanksgiving Day. Last year, he says it was $2.11, so a big sticker shock on that one. He says people who are going to drive for the holiday are planning shorter trips to save money within 3 hours of home. Like we mentioned earlier, inflation has reached a level it hasn't been at in more than 30 years. Economists say this is because of labor shortages as well as supply chain issues. But at the end of the day, it's you, the people who live right here in the Carolinas, who are footing the bill for this inflation. Mary Green is going to report on how much more expensive things are right now.
The U.S. Department of Labor reports prices overall are up about 6% from this time last year. And South Carolinians say they're seeing that increase at the register.
Loading up the cart is getting more expensive.
At certain stores, I'll be like, chicken this much? Oh no.
And Thanksgiving coming up means many Americans will have even more people at their tables.
How many folks are you going to be feeding?
About 12 to 15.
I'll make it happen.
The USDA reports grocery prices are up across the board compared to last year. Meat, poultry, and fish are more than 10% more expensive, with the biggest price hikes in beef prices. Americans can expect to pay about 3% more on their fruits and vegetables, but not as much more on their dairy. Anyone cooking or baking over Thanksgiving might need to buy some eggs, which are over 12% more expensive, or fats and oils, with prices now nearly 7% more than last year.
The price is still high for one person. And it seems like every store you go to, they get higher and higher.
While we do expect both of these challenges to be alleviated going forward, it is not likely to happen anytime soon, certainly not in time for the holidays and the new year.
Research economist Joey Von Nessen says the nationwide labor shortage is causing this, and employers are offering more incentives to get workers, like increased wages.
Those rising wages then are partially passed on to consumers in the form of increased prices.
Some South Carolinians say they're shopping around more these days.
Thank you. Y'all have a good evening.
I've been going to a couple of grocery stores, and the high ones, I go in there and get certain items, but for meats and stuff, I go to, like little cheap places.
I've been checking out different stores. They either don't have it or the same price, but I'll try to buy one and stretch it.
Hourly wages have gone up on average across the country since last year, but Von Nessen says it's not enough in every sector to keep up with inflation and rising prices. Reporting in Columbia, I'm Mary Green.
Mary, thank you so much. So Thanksgiving, it's less than a week away. I cannot believe we are almost there, but some people are now saying, listen to this, they're going to skip the turkey this year because of rising Thanksgiving costs. So Mara McGilton, she is in Wilmington, and she is looking at how prices are changing people's holiday plans.
Recently, it's ticked up and gone the other way. That's probably the supply chain disruptions.
Prices of turkeys, a gallon of gas, all rising heading into the holiday season.
Some of it's also that we have a disruption in the labor market going on, and some of it is that we have an increase in demand. I mean, we still have the remnants of expanded unemployment benefits and stimulus checks.
Regional economist Adam Jones says prices of durable goods like food and gas have gone up about 5.5% since this time last year. Those stimulus checks are a big reason why many people say they're willing to pay a higher price for that once-a-year Thanksgiving turkey. But some people said they're okay with not having some Thanksgiving favorites on the table next week if that means saving a few bucks.
All of us are forward-looking planners, and we think, gee, the budget's going to be a little bit tighter in the future. Maybe I should do some of that cutting back now. So that looks like fewer road trips. Potentially you stay closer to home over the holidays. Maybe you drive a different vehicle to try and cut your costs a little bit.
Jones said he expects people to buy most of their normal Thanksgiving meals, although they might consider cutting back a little bit and buying a smaller turkey than normal or not making as many side dishes.
They can still afford to buy their Thanksgiving, so it's not yet belt-tightening time. But if this continues, it could very well become that.
I'm also told that this increase in prices could last for another 6 months to a year, depending on how people spend their money. For Carolina News Now, I'm Mara McGilton, WECT News.
Mara, thank you so much. She spoke to a couple of people who are having trouble at the grocery store. It's not just consumers at the grocery store who are running into issues buying food. Food banks are also being hit by inflation. Of course, this is especially detrimental when you consider how many people became reliant on food banks during the pandemic. And we're going into the holidays when a lot of people need a little extra help from food banks. So Maddie Kurth is in Greenville, North Carolina. She spoke to a food bank in the region who say that people who usually donate really are having to think extra hard about what they're going to give this season because of high prices at the grocery store.
Volunteers spent the day packing up sweet potatoes at the Greenville Food Bank. While some supplies are ready and available, others are running low or completely gone.
We have had a real drop in our food drives and food donations that normally come from the public. So the food bank is now in a position where we're going to have to purchase more food.
Once that issue starts happening where you have less food that's available in the grocery stores, of course, you're going to have more issues at your food banks.
The pandemic halted production for goods of all kinds, but now people are once again purchasing more.
Suddenly, as consumers and customers are trying to build all of the things that we like to buy are finding themselves in a pinch.
A pinch that is squeezing the holiday season, especially for those who use community-donated resources.
The food bank counts on many channels to receive food drives, grocery chains, farmers, food manufacturers, and with the breakdown in the supply chain, it's just taking longer to get commodities into our warehouses.
Time that hungry people just don't have. However,
it's not like companies can stock up a lot on perishable products in anticipation of something that's going to happen. They can stock up on canned goods, dried goods, and things like that last longer, but even those have a shelf life, right?
Leaving families to ask,
am I going to provide for my family, or am I going to donate some food to the food bank?
Reporting live for Carolina News Now, I'm Maddie Kurth, WITN, Greenville, North Carolina.
Maddie, thank you so much. So we're talking about food banks who usually help more people during the cooler months. What also happens during the cooler months, the heat comes on in your home, and yes, you can expect to be paying some more money this year for heating your home. Natural gas prices especially are up this year. If you're turning on your heat for the first time, you might be shocked when you get the bill in the mail. This is especially true for those who use natural gas. Across the world, natural gas prices are increasing, and companies are of course passing that cost along to you, the consumer, the customer. So we spoke to Piedmont Gas, and they say increased demand and supply are just a few of the reasons for those larger bills. We also asked them for ways to save, and you're taking a look at it right now. They say to add some insulation to your home, to seal your air ducts, to caulk and seal cracks, and you can get sealant for less than $10 at most stores. This is interesting. I hadn't heard this one before. You can set your water heater temperature to 120 degrees Fahrenheit. It's usually at 140 degrees Fahrenheit, and that can help you save some money as well. Lastly, they say add insulation, especially in under insulated areas. So some good tips there, of course. As costs rise, we are all looking for ways to save money, but the sticker shock, it just isn't hitting customers, it's hitting people who run restaurants as well. So we have a story now. It is out of the Charlotte area. A restaurant owner who always does a very charitable thing for Thanksgiving, gives out meals to anyone who needs one, says he isn't going to be able to do that this year because of inflation. I'm going to send it now to Dee Dee Gatton, who has the story.
The rising food prices aren't just impacting people at the grocery store. For the first time in 28 years, Skyland Restaurant will be closed for Thanksgiving. The restaurant has become legendary for handing out free Thanksgiving meals to all those in the community.
So I decided to give it back to the community and to the people who support me all these years.
It's an unusual but welcome tradition in Charlotte.
Thank you so much.
Spanning more than 2 decades.
Was no limit. We give away whatever they want to pick up.
In 2020, Skyland Restaurant gave away more than 3,000 boxes of turkey dinners, not just for low-income people, but all those who lined up outside these doors. It hurts owner Jimmy Kakavitsas to know that won't be happening this year.
Feels bad. It was a very hard decision to make, but I cannot do it myself.
COVID and the labor shortage impacted his decision to close.
Well, I used to be 24 hours here. I used to have more than 30 employees. Now I have only 10, 12.
The owner says it's difficulty finding the staff and also rising food costs.
Very expensive. The food is up 300% from last year.
CNN reports as inflation surges, food prices have risen by nearly 1% for 2 months in a row.
So I hope things will get better and next year will go back to normal schedule.
I think that's something that we're all hoping for, but with inflation and supply and demand issues and the pandemic, it looks like more small businesses could be in a similar boat. In Charlotte, for Carolina News Now, I'm Dee Dee Gatton.
Dee, thank you so much. As hopefully we will see that Thanksgiving tradition return to Charlotte next year. If you are watching us on Facebook, say hello. Let us know where you are watching from this Friday, how your week was. Maybe weigh in on inflation recently. Where have you seen the highest prices? We would love to hear from you. Our final story today is coming out of the Charleston area of South Carolina. We just talked to you about restaurants who are struggling with these higher prices. One restaurant in the Georgetown area was just getting back on its feet. Tourism was picking up in Charleston. People were visiting the restaurant again, comfortable with eating inside and getting out. And then a devastating fire happened. I'm going to send it to Summer Hector, who is reporting from Georgetown.
Georgetown County saw a 26% rise in tourism tax money this year compared to last year. But Anthony Chacon and his father Eddie, who run Tuscany Bistro, say they struggled to have 4 servers working each day when before the pandemic they averaged 7 servers. He says over the last few weeks they were finally seeing more people wanting to work.
We're hoping that we'll be able to get the building refurnished, so forth, rebuilt, and that he can get his business back open sooner than later, because obviously this time of the year with Christmas parties that are to be catered and so forth, that hurts him when he's not in business.
The Chacons were not ready to speak on camera about the fire yet, but they tell me it left the kitchen inside unsalvageable. They aren't sure whether the building will need to be torn down yet, but say it could take a year to rebuild. And now the Georgetown community is working to help the beloved local restaurant.
This gentleman, Eddie Chacon, is a local person who gives back to the community, and by supporting him, he's going to support us. So this is a critical part of, let's show him some support.
Kevin Jaro works at the business next door. He says he's working to organize private in-home dinners to help the Chacons and their staff still operate. It's something people like Shannon Murphy and others I spoke to are excited to participate in.
People have reached out to us and offered us, tents and portable kitchens and stuff that we might still be able to achieve some of that, but obviously it won't be as uniform and easy without being able to use the kitchen and all here in this building.
The Chacons say they appreciate the encouragement they've received from their Georgetown family. In Georgetown, Summer Hector, Live 5 News.
Let me turn my microphone on so you can hear me this Friday. I was just saying it's Friday. We made it through the work week, and clearly we have the weekend on our minds, right? Hey, it's going to be a lot cooler this weekend than it was last weekend, so we want to get one more check of your weather forecast, and for that we have Rachel Coulter.
I'm meteorologist Rachel Coulter, one of the meteorologists over at WBTV. Want to give you a look into the weekend because we just had a pretty strong cold front move through the area, knocked down our temperatures quite a bit. So we're going to be a little bit more fall-like heading into the weekend. Winter-like by the start of next week. That's thanks to another cold front, but let's talk about the weekend first. If you have some plans tonight, dry conditions in the forecast across the Carolinas. We're going to have temperatures dropping back into those 40s and 50s, just depending on where you are. Of course, starting off in the 20s in the higher elevations of the mountains. 30s for most of us, and even as low as the upper 20s in those early morning hours across portions of the Piedmont region. It's going to be a chilly start. Temperatures by the afternoon hours will try to recover to the 50s across most of the Carolinas, but some may not even make it out of the 40s with partly cloudy skies in the forecast. Staying dry Saturday, staying dry most of Sunday, but you'll notice as we work our way through time, these temperatures are going to warm up, and you can see that rain out to the west of your screen there. There's going to be that second cold front I talked about. That's going to be pushing through as we head into the start of the next work week, bringing rain chances with it, and certainly another shot of cooler air across the Carolinas as we head into the extended forecast.
All right, Rachel, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us this Friday afternoon for Carolina News Now. Remember, this is powered by 6 television stations across North and South Carolina, and every Friday at 1 o'clock, you can get caught up on the top headlines of the week, or maybe we're taking a deeper dive into a story like inflation that is affecting so many people in both states. You can watch it at 1 o'clock wherever you watch your local news channel, wherever you stream, whether it's on Roku, Fire TV, Apple TV, right here on Facebook, or maybe on your local news station's app or website. We really appreciate you joining us for Carolina News Now. I'm Maddie Gardner. Have an awesome weekend.